we say stay in your comfort zone. All of your answers are in your comfort zone. So what do we mean by that? So first off, what we mean by that is, so you have your comfort zone. And for those of you that are listening, just imagine you have like an area that is like your comfort zone. And those of you that are watching the video, so you have your comfort zone. Well, here's the deal. And you guys have all heard this before. All of the answers are inside of you, right? So why are you going outside your comfort zone? Here's the caveat though. All of your answers are inside of you. All of your blocks are also inside of you. So if you stay in your comfort zone and clean up all of the gunk, the stuff, right? The negative thoughts and emotions, the shyster, the I'm not deserving, I'm not loved, I was abandoned, the fear, anger, sadness, hurt, guilt, shame, terror. If you clean all of that up inside your comfort zone, because that's where it all lives, your comfort zone expands.
Jenn Beninger is the Genius Unlocked founder and CEO of the Genius Unlocked Institute, where she coaches, mentors, and transforms leaders' personal and professional lives. She has a unique bit of wisdom that she drops. She says, don't step outside your comfort zone. And I had to pause on that one, right? Because I'm often talking about stretching into your comfort zone, but she has a different bend on it. And I totally agree with it. She says, instead, expand your neurology to expand your comfort zone. So she's going to be sharing with us in this interview how you can learn to do this. And here's the secret. We are so in alignment. Let's meet Jenn Beninger. Well, welcome to Extraordinary Women Radio, Jenn. It is great to have you join us today.
I am so excited, Cammie. This is going to be such a great conversation, and I'm really excited to hear the feedback of your listeners on what is a takeaway. So listen for those golden nuggets, and thanks so much for having me here.
Oh, you bet. And I know you're going to be delivering so much golden nuggets as I was looking through all the things that you talk about. And this journey that you've been on is where I want to start. I want to start
Absolutely.
with this story of you, this story of, how did you get to this place of doing the good work that you're doing right now?
Thank you for that question. And we can go all the way back to when I started my entrepreneurial journey as a Girl Scout, selling the most cookies.
That's
or
so cool.
I could bring it up a little bit more current. So, but basically, what's landed me here with the work that I do, which is really steeped and based in discovering and connecting and trusting and taking the inspired action from your intuition. I can go back to a little bit of the beginning of my entrepreneurial journey. I've always really been an entrepreneur. Mm-hmm. However, I came from the mindset of growing up, my community and my environment around me, that I was supposed to go to college, go get a good job. I live in the Silicon Valley. So I graduated from college and I went and got a job at a high-tech company. Not sure if you guys have ever heard of it, called WebMD. And I was there, when they went IPO. Now, granted, I wasn't at a Google or a Facebook IPO, but it was a great opportunity. Yeah. But what I realized is it really wasn't following my true passion. My degree's in psychology. I really wanted to help people. And I was working there, and I got married in my 20s, and we were really struggling a lot during that time with infertility. And I really wanted to start my family. My now my ex-husband, but it's all good. My husband at the time and we really wanted to start this family. And so I was realizing that I wasn't getting in touch with who I really am and what the universe had in store for me to be a mom. Because I was so high power,
driven,
Silicon Valley driven, type A, doing all the thing. And I had a business on the side. And so I didn't know it at the time that it was, I now can look back and label it my intuition. I did at the time, I didn't. So some of you on this line may be in that stage where you're like, I just got this feeling, and I just woke up one day and I was like, I'm done. I'm stressed out. I'm working. We had international clients. I'm working on Sundays at midnight because that's when the clients were available. So I just had this inspired action. I took this inspired action and I quit my job without having another one.
And I think our listeners are going to so tune into that because there's so many of them came out of the corporate world and are exactly, that there was something that guided them to do the work that they're doing today to make a different impact, right? Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And I just didn't know, but I just didn't. No, I wanted to start a family.
Yeah.
And so I came home, and my husband at the time was like, he was in the law enforcement, and I was earning about 50% of our income, and I was like, I don't care, I'm done. We've been wanting to have kids for 4 years. It's not working. I'm 30 now. I'm ready to, step into what's next. So I decided to quit. And of course, I get pregnant after I quit. So that was amazing. So I have my first daughter, who's now 20. So that'll give you a clue of when all this happened. And I went full on in my business. So I was a business coach, and I knew, and I learned so much being in corporate America, and I learned how to grow my business while being both in corporate America and on my own. So I became a business coach, and a very successful business coach. Yeah. And I don't know if any of you have experienced this, and Cammie, I don't know if you experience this, that you tell your clients what to do, and then they don't do it. And you're just pulling your hair out going, if you want to have 6 figures, multiple 6 figures, or even your first 7 figures, if you just did A, B, and C, you'd have it. Well, I started figuring out, I was like, you're paying me a lot of money. You're doing some of the things and not all of the things. And I decided to go figure out why they weren't taking all of the action that I knew that I had implemented myself, had gotten 6 and then multiple 6 and now eventually 7 figures. Why were they not doing what I was telling them to do as a business coach? Right. And I figured it out. It was mindset. It's really what's going on. It's their limiting thoughts and beliefs and decisions and negative emotions and fear and all these negative emotions that were coming up, and the self-doubt and,
and
not deserving.
It can stop people, right? It just stops people in their tracks when they're
in their tracks.
Up. Yeah.
In their tracks. And the thing is that it's so unconscious that we don't even realize or understand what it is. So I figured, so then I was like, okay, I needed to do the mindset work for myself. So then I started shifting to understanding what is going on in the unconscious mind. I was a very good conscious mind business coach.
Because you could do those things, right? Versus how do you dive down deeper
and find out what's blocking you and me and everyone that's listening and all of our clients. And so I really started diving into that work. So when I remember walking in, and at this time my marriage was not doing very well. And I remember walking into my first training where I dealt with, my first training was neuro-linguistic programming, or NLP. And I remember walking in, hearing about the unconscious mind and the blocks. And I remember saying to myself, oh my gosh, I can save my marriage. And instead I realized that I did save myself. And so I realized that it was everything that was going on needed to be healed with inside of me. I grew up, I didn't have a lot of trauma. I didn't, I wasn't, I thought I was actually a little boring, right? I grew up in middle America. My parents are still married. I didn't have, lots of challenges, so to speak.
Yeah.
So I thought it was a little boring. I'm like, I don't really have trauma. And then in reality, it doesn't matter. It could be something that somebody said to you in 3rd grade that made you believe in yourself that maybe you weren't good enough, or you didn't deserve something, or you weren't loved, or maybe you did experience trauma. So I started diving into that side of the work.
Right.
And then all the light bulbs went off. And then so the journey was, then I realized that I really wanted to go more into mindset coaching, combining business and that unconscious mind coaching, because that's where the solution is. So then when I started working with my clients and understanding what's going on in the unconscious mind, they don't feel that they're deserving. They would make a lot of money but not be able to keep it. I'm like, well, what's up with that? Those that don't make a lot of money, those that are scared to make a transition. It took me, I knew for about 3 years that it was time for me to get a divorce. And it still took me 3 years of figuring out the mindset, because I'd been with my husband at the time since I was 22 years old. Right. And now I'm in my 40s, and I'm just like, is this really what I'm doing? We have 2 kids, we've built this life, but I realized that I was not in a healthy relationship. Yeah. Both me and him, and it wasn't healthy for our kids. So I started delving into what does that really look like. So then that's when I started working in the mindset coaching, where we combine what's going on in the unconscious mind with what's going on in the conscious mind, and then integrating the two. And that's the basis of our work, is what do you consciously need to understand? What's unconsciously going on? And then how do you integrate the two so that you can step into your full, what life that you want and deserve? So I went through all this process. I worked for a company. I became the director of coaching, and I was really developing other coaches and clients and understanding what was happening in all of those modalities. And then about 5 years ago, my best friend and I stepped out of that company and created Genius Unlocked, which is the company that we have now, which is really truly about unlocking the genius inside of you. Everything is inside of you. And I know that's a cliche. I know everyone says it. And I know we're going to dive deeper into what specifically can you take that and apply it to you. Yeah. So then my journey ventured into starting my own company, and we are a coaching institute, which means we have clients that come to us for that internal growth, for growing their coaching business. And we use 8 different modalities because we realize it's not a one solution. Everyone's a little bit different. Some of you might have heard of NLP. Some of you might have used energy work or hypnosis in the unconscious mind or breath work. Some of you might have conscious coaching from like the ICF or just coaching in general. And we really want to support, because I realize everyone that we help, including my family, my friends, our clients, our coaches that work for us, it's all about integrating that conscious and the unconscious mind. And once I realized that, then we the divorce, divorce is never fun, right? It's never fun.
No, it's not fun at all.
And I remember we ended up getting a high. This is the pinnacle of why I know this works. Because when it became time to ask for the divorce and go through that, we ended up with a high conflict mediator because we were very high conflicted, right? She would have to separate us and put us in different Zoom rooms, right? Because it was such a high conflict. To the end, at the final resolution, I remember she's like, I have never seen people transform like I have seen you and your ex-husband transform. She goes, you guys, if you had showed up at the end of your divorce, like at the beginning, you wouldn't have needed a high conflict. You wouldn't have needed a high conflict mediator. It's because we shifted, and it's really, I shifted. And then I was able to communicate better. I was able to find out what my needs were, make sure that I was getting my needs met. I stopped projecting on him. I stopped blaming and shaming him because I was doing the internal work.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask you. You were doing this work, you were learning this work as you were going through that, and that really changed that up for you then.
Oh, 1,000,000%. And actually it's really kind of funny, like right before this interview. So it doesn't matter when you guys are listening to this. It could be like the same day or it could be like months from now. He actually was here picking up our youngest daughter, who's 16. We have 16 and a 20-year-old daughters. And we're like, oh, hey, how you doing? I was like, oh, I got to get ready. I'm going to go, I have a podcast interview. He's like, okay, good luck. Have fun. We hadn't been that communicative since we were in our 20s, and I'm 50. Yeah. So it's like, it's just amazing that when you take the responsibility and you go inside and you understand what's going on in your unconscious mind, then you relate it to what's going on in your conscious mind and you integrate the two, you then create the life that you want. And so that is our mission for our business, is to support people in holding that sacred space to release the most vulnerable judgments that you have about yourself.
Yeah,
because
so
once
beautiful.
I released that vulnerable judgment I had inside myself, my divorce went from this high conflict nightmare to, wow, we're coping. There's no way we thought we would be where we are today with how it started. And that's the power of this work and your willingness. So here's the thing. You have to be willing to go there. I had to be willing to go there. I had to accept the responsibility that was my responsibility. And then I had to believe that I could have it on the other side. If you can get those 3 things, the work is the work, and it just gets you there. So that's a little bit of my journey and my path. And now my goal is to coach other coaches to do that for their clients, do that for our clients, and as well set that ripple effect out into the world, because then together we can raise that vibration and there will be less conflict and whatnot in the world. So,
and that's really, it's just so important. And in this time of such high conflict in our world, the more people can learn these types of skill sets. And I love that you're pulling from all these different modalities, because all these different modalities help us connect so much more deeply into that core of who we are, but like break through layers that we don't even know are there.
That's the unconscious. And we've all heard
Yeah.
this. You've heard that
Yeah.
again. I love these cliches, because the cliche, if you just take the cliche at the surface level, you're not really understanding. But if you can go, what specifically about this cliche is the thing, and that's where you get the power. And the cliche that I'm talking about is, you don't know what you don't know. You're like, oh, I don't know what I don't know. Okay, well, what does that mean? Well, what that means is you don't know what you don't know. Therefore, dive deep and figure out what is it that you deserve to know, so that you can release it. So instead of it becoming an excuse, which is a lot of our clients come to us with that excuse, then it's about, we use it, you can't see the label from within inside the jar. So if you're inside the jar, you don't understand what you're projecting, outside. That's what a coach is for. That's why coaches have coaches. That's why coaches have coaches who have coaches. Make sure your coach, if you're a coach, make sure your coach has a coach, because it's all about developing, and everyone's on a journey. I loved what you just said, is the importance of the different modalities, is because everyone's on a different journey.
Yeah. You're going to break through in a different way.
Absolutely. Different layers, different limiting decisions, different limiting beliefs, different negative emotions, different experiences. We call them filters. Like, how do you filter your experiences, and what can you do to clean up those filters? What can you do to say, oh, I grew up in a household. So for me, like, one of the biggest filters that I had to clean up, because I was very successful. I've been a full-time entrepreneur since 2002. And so what that meant was, there was times when I made lots of money, but then didn't have any. So it was like, that's what it's like, it's not about how much money you make, it's about how much you keep. You make 100,000, but you spend 101, you're just broke at a different level. Yeah. And so I was really trying to figure out, I'm like, how can I be having 12 clients at $3,000 a month and not be able to pay? I have an argument with my husband about what credit card we're going to put the toilet paper on at Costco, because all of our credit cards are maxed out. But I'm making, 20 some odd $1,000 a month. It made no sense to me. It's because of what my relationship was unconsciously with money. Yeah. Because I grew up in an environment where my grandfather and I are the only entrepreneurs. And I grew up hearing everyone in my family, extended family and beyond, both sides, that my grandfather was a shyster. And so I was like, a shyster? And ladies and gentlemen, he was in real estate. Okay, so let's just it's not really a shyster, right? He's in real estate. But again, it's like you're broke until you sell your next house, right?
Yeah.
So he would make a bunch of money at a time and then have to budget it till he made a bunch of money again. So I grew up saying, I can be an entrepreneur, but I better not make a lot of money, because my family's then, it's an unconscious belief that I adopted when I was young, when I was a baby.
And it was carrying through. And so when we find those unconscious stories that we hold, and we're moving forward into the shift, and when you start to think about how this transformed into you starting your business, right? So you go through this work, you start your business. What do you wish now? What do you wish you knew now? What do you wish you? Let me go backwards on this, right? What do you wish you knew then that you know now? Yeah.
1,000,000%. And I know that this is a question based on what we just talked about. This was not a preconceived question. I want your audience to know that, because it's your intuition. 1,000,000%. Because as I started my story, I didn't know to label that feeling that I needed to quit my job as intuition, because it sure as heck was not fun and easy, right? I didn't talk to my husband first. So I was just like,
not even looked at in a positive way. I mean, I can go back to being in the corporate world and talking to my boss at that time, and he's like, I don't care what your intuition says. It's all about the numbers. And I'm like, well, my intuition is telling me this, and he was telling me to shut that intuition off. So there's this, and I think as women, we have this beautiful ability to be able to tap into a deep wisdom that is there for us to guide us, to guide others. It's really powerful.
It is beyond powerful. So we actually have it chunked down into 4 steps per se to develop that. So the first step is really discovering that you have an intuition. Because I didn't know to label it that. I just, and we all have it. And some of us call it luck. Some of us just call it that gut feeling. Some of it calling, oh, the stars aligned. Okay. Yes. And Really, it's that your intuition, because your intuition is the translator between your conscious and your unconscious mind. So if you want to know what's going on in your unconscious mind, you need to tap into your intuition. If you want to be able to take what's unconscious and put it in your conscious mind so you'll go do the things that will get you your goals, you need to listen to your intuition. Because your conscious mind is the goal setter, ladies and gentlemen. You set goals all day long. Your unconscious mind is the goal getter. Because if what you set in your conscious mind doesn't align with what your unconscious, which means you have limiting beliefs, you're never going to hit your goal. How many of you have set a goal and not hit it?
Yeah.
I promise you it's not because of any other reason than your unconscious mind has a limiting thought or belief inside of it that is going to stop you. It's going to take it. It's going to be like, oh, I'm going to do this goal. Oh, nope, I don't feel I deserve it. You're going to set this goal and your unconscious mind will go, oh, but you don't think that you're loved. Oh, you don't want to be seen because being seen equals hurt. So your unconscious mind is the one that's getting your actual goal. So when you can clean all that up, you're going to set a goal and you're going to hit it. So those of you that have set goals and hit them, it's not an accident. It's not luck. It's because you were in total alignment. Your conscious mind and your unconscious mind were in the thing. So what translates? How do you figure that out? Your intuition. So first you have to discover it. The next thing is you have to truly understand, how does your intuition communicate with you? Some of you, it is kinesthetic. You get that gut feeling. Some of you, you see it in your mind's eye. Some of you hear, that inner voice that's positive, always kind, guiding you. Some of you just get a knowing. And it's all fantastic, any of those that you get. So you want to be conscious of it so you can go, oh my gosh, my unconscious, this is how my intuition talks to me. For me, butterflies is a yes. If I see a butterfly in my mind's eye, if I see one outside, if I see one on a sticker, if I see one on a TV show, butterflies just have, and that might be a little foo-foo for some of you, and it's all good. So
Goosebumps are
step
mine,
2,
right?
So step 1, you got to understand you got one, which probably everybody on this podcast have got that. They understand they have one. Second, you have to really understand, how does it communicate with you? Then the third step, this is where most people get tripped up. I still think the fourth step is the biggest challenge. And the third step is where most people get tripped up. And this is where I want to really encourage you, empower each of you on the line here to trust it. You don't trust it because you're like, but that feels weird. That doesn't feel, like what's going to happen.
Scary,
I have
right?
uncertainty.
It's scary, yeah.
Scary, uncertain. Don't, you're just like, really? You want me to do that? And then, so once you can truly discover it and then understand how it communicates with you, your next big task is to trust it. So figure that out on smaller tasks. Okay, don't go like, oh, I'm going to go test my intuition by buying a new house, or do I move to another country? Let's not go that big. Let's start with smaller things. I give I use the example of when my daughter, she goes to high school, and there's 2 routes to get there. If there's the shortcut, yet if there's traffic, that's not the shortcut. It's better to go around it. So I will test my intuition. I'll say, okay, intuition, which direction do I go? And it'll say, go left. And I'll go, okay, great. I'll go left. And then I'll look and I'll be like, yep, tons of traffic. Now I understand. And then you have to bring conscious, what was that process like? Because ladies and gentlemen, what we want you to do and what your intuition does is we want you to be able to repeat it consciously so you can have repeated, predictable, successful results. Your intuition is not to be left to a whim. When you discover this and you start trusting it, you are truly going to be able to create the life that you want, because it's not going to be this random thing. You're going to be like, nope, intuition, this is how you communicate with me. This is what I'm ready for. And then you trust it. And then the fourth step. This is the one where I think actually most people have the challenge, because then they're like, oh, Jen, I trust it. They don't take the inspired action.
Right. You got to act. Yep.
And we don't, and there's a difference between action. We don't want you like throwing spaghetti up against the wall. Okay. That's a misnomer, because that action can be coming from your other 3 voices, your inner critic, your inner child, or your inner ego. Nope. Now they serve a purpose, but they're not going to get you the result that you want. So if you just get into action, that's those of you that are setting the same goal. The typical one I hear all the time is, oh, I want to make $10,000 a month. Somewhere somebody said that's how you measure success is $10,000 a month. Okay, so $10,000 a month, and you get into all this action, but then you keep missing your goal.
Because you're not listening to your intuition. Yeah.
So if you can say, okay, intuition, what do I deserve to learn? What are you wanting me to do? What do I need to release? What learnings do I need to have so I understand that I am worthy, that I do deserve money, that I do deserve success, that I am a powerful person, and I don't need to, get scared that if I make more money than my husband, which was one of my things. I'm a shyster and I can't make more money than my husband. Well, I'm an entrepreneur. He's a police officer. His income is literally published in the newspaper. Right? That's law enforcement. And so, but an entrepreneur, my potential is unlimited, but I was always blocking my ceiling. So I had two things going on. One, I was afraid to make more money than my husband. And two, if I make too much money, I'm a shyster.
Yeah.
So once I cleared all that up, business went to 7 figures. Yeah. So it's like, you are just need to understand that you do deserve abundance, that you are all that there is to be. So if you can discover it, understand how it's communicating, trust it, and then take that inspired action, your results will happen faster in unimaginable ways that you could even imagined.
Yeah.
And then you can start trusting yourself and not listening to the outside world. So I just want to tell one story about how important that piece is. And then we can shift to the next thing. This is a powerful for women in business entrepreneurs, is we were told, right, that Facebook ads was the only way that we were really going to grow our coaching business, which is fine. For Facebook ads, for some people, it works.
Wow.
It didn't for us. So we invested $60,000 in our first year in business. That was
on Facebook ads.
Uh-huh.
Oh my gosh.
Guess how much results we got, ladies and gentlemen?
Oh no, I'm going to go with a 0, but I don't know. Yeah, so a
Big
0.
Fat 0.
Yeah.
Because we were taking it from it. So then this is what we did. We're like, okay. So finally we said, nope, we can't do it anymore. And they're like, oh, just keep going. You don't have a lot of the social media. Let's just keep. Now the good thing is that the company that we were working with had massive results. Like we did a lot of research. And then they take a percentage of what we make. So I wasn't even paying them monthly until we made money. So like 4 months in, I'm just like, I can't anymore.
Yeah.
I was like, I understand about investing in your business. Like I was doing all that. So we did a release around, like we did our process, which we looked at what was unconsciously coming up. We decided cold turkey. We're like, nope, we're not doing this another month. That same day, I am not making this up. That same day, we got a call from a different connection that met us at an event that said, hey, we would love to have you come in and do 20 talks to our audiences in order to show them what you guys do. And we were like, and how much is that going to cost us? Oh, nothing. We want you to, you're going to come in and be a keynote, and then we have 20 booked, and then we want you to, promote your entry level, like $37, $47. I think the max was $97 program. And I'm like, what? So we stopped doing what we thought we had to do, and our ego was telling us, and our inner critic was telling us, and we went to the intuition, which was stop. Guess what month that was that we got that first talk? That would be January of 2020.
Oh, wow.
What happened in March of 2020?
Right. Yeah.
The world shut down. So we're like,
had to go virtual then.
And none of these talks were virtual.
Okay.
So then we were like, oh, snap. And we did. And we went to our intuition and we're like, okay, what did we learn? And the whole point of doing those talks, we did like 3 talks. We were very successful, but then the world shut down and they were like, crap, we were traveling all over the place. We didn't have a way to go online. We went inside. We're like, oh, we went inside. So we went inside and started communicating with our intuition, cleaning up the fear. Could you imagine? Like everybody had fear. And we're like, you know what? We can go virtual. So we created our first masterclass. And we made, I think it was like $250 or $240, $230,000 on our first masterclass.
Oh, gosh.
Which made up all of the money that we lost the last year. And we were like, oh, this works. And then we had doubt. We're like, oh, we can't repeat that. Everybody's losing their jobs. Nobody can pay for our programs. No, everybody was wanting to be a coach because their job was shut down. So then we repeated. So
Nice.
every time, so the lesson I want you all to hear is your intuition has all of the answers.
Yeah.
And to discern between your inner critic, your inner child, your inner ego, and your intuition is really your only job.
Yeah.
If you can figure out which voice, we say which eye is talking. Is it your intuition or one of these other three? If you can figure out which eye is talking and then you determine it's your intuition and you follow those inspired action steps, everything will work out. Even
So
if you
good.
have to, if you have to look at the fear. So that's how we look at intuition. And I just wanted to give you that example. So I get when life throws that curveball at you, like the pandemic,
Yeah.
or a divorce, or
coming home to
$60,000 in
you.
ads.
Yeah. You're really coming home to you and moving from that space of knowledge.
So I have to
and
give you.
wisdom.
So to give you an update. So then 2 years later, we'll think, oh well, we're ready for Facebook ads again. This time was $190,000 invested, and we got one $1,000 sale.
Oh man, it's not my way of going for marketing whatsoever either. So I totally.
Well, but it was the lesson of we stopped listening to our intuition, and we're like, oh no, business is cranking. We're finally ready to tap back in.
Yeah.
And then we're like, and then our inner ego was like, oh well, look at us. We just need people to see us. Ugh. So we had to learn the lesson again.
Yeah.
And we
doesn't
learned
that
it.
show up for us, right? It shows up. Our lessons show up for us so many times.
And that was what was important to me to share is it's not a one and done. You're going to fall back unconscious, different challenges. We say your first $100,000, you got to clean up the stuff. Then it's $250, you got to clean up your stuff. Then it's every $250,000 that your goal that you got to clean up new stuff.
Yeah.
And then once you hit 7 and then multiple 7 and then turn it from booked revenue to gross revenue to profit, like those are different processes too. And they all take that mindset shift, and your intuition has the answer every time. It's just a matter of tapping into it and trusting it.
Yeah.
And then taking that inspired action. So thank you for letting me share those two stories. I hope
that's
that
so good.
related to some of your listeners.
Great stories. Yeah, definitely great stories. I want to touch on one thing before we wrap up here. It's I've heard you talk about don't step out of your comfort zone. And that's so go a little bit deeper into this because I think it's an important I've gone a little bit deeper into what your teachings are here. So I just want you to share this.
Beautiful. I love this. And it's we say stay in your comfort zone.
Right.
All of your answers are in your comfort zone. So what do we mean by that? So first off, what we mean by that is, so you have your comfort zone, and for those of you that are listening, just imagine you have like an area that is like your comfort zone, and those of you that are watching the video. So you have your comfort zone. Well, here's the deal, and you guys have all heard this before. All of the answers are inside of you.
Yeah.
Right? So why are you going outside your comfort zone? Here's the caveat though. All of your answers are inside of you. All of your blocks are also inside of you. So if you stay in your comfort zone and clean up all of the gunk, the stuff, right? The negative thoughts and emotions, the shyster, the I'm not deserving, I'm not loved, I was abandoned, the fear, anger, sadness, hurt, guilt, shame, terror. If you clean all of that up inside your comfort zone, because that's where it all lives.
Yeah.
Your comfort zone expands.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
And
I use
feel
this
that,
example.
Right? It's like I can so feel that. It's like we stay here in our home, in that core of who we are. We work with what's there. We expand, and
So-
those lines, those edges move out.
So this is what so our business is really around, we are obsessed with how the brain works. How does how does your brain do your problem? How does the brain do your solution? So what happens, and I use this example, so let me give you guys an actual relatable example of why we say don't go outside your comfort zone. So we're going to use fear. Okay. We're just going to use fear of heights. Okay. So let's say you're in your comfort zone and you're like, I'm scared of heights. And then you're like, oh, well, go face your fear. Go jump out of an airplane. Now, I love skydiving, so I'm not one that's going to have that challenge, right? So you're in here and you're like, I ain't going skydiving. I'm like, nope, I'm not going up on that building. I'm not stepping out. So here's what happens. If you have that fear, That is a neurological connection in your brain. It's like a rut in your brain, like the mud in a muddy dirt road, right? That tire track in a muddy road, right? You're in it. If you are in your comfort zone and then you step out and jump out of an airplane without understanding the fear, all you have done, you're not broken through anything, in my opinion. What you have done is you have strengthened the fear in your neurology. Because you're forced to do it. Someone's like, just do it. Just, face the fear and do it anyway. Really? Because if you face the fear and do it anyway, and you don't understand where the fear came from and resolved it, you're stepping out of your comfort zone, doing it anyway, and then you still get scared. Or maybe you get exhilarated. Okay, or maybe you're like, oh my God, and then you're all excited that you looked over the edge of the building, and then you're like, oh, are you ready to go skydiving? They're like, nope, I face my fear. I'm never going to look at something. I'm never going to go up high again. It's because you just made that neurological connection to fear, and this is deeper.
You made that trench deeper.
So this is what we say, is go inside your comfort zone and say, okay, where did that fear come from? Release it with your learnings, with your intuition, with all of our modalities. You can do it in breath work and Reiki and hypnotherapy and NLP and timeline therapy and all that stuff. You figure out the learnings. Your comfort zone expands. You no longer have fear. Now you have a choice.
Nice.
We want when you go outside your comfort zone. And I know Cammie's like, you teach us, but when you think about it, if you go outside your comfort zone, you're actually not giving yourself any choice. We want all resolutions, all work in your mindset to give you back choice. So you expand your comfort zone, and then you have a choice. You can choose to jump out of an airplane, or you can choose to not to, yet you're not doing it out of fear. You're doing it out of choice.
Yeah. I love it.
And that's the importance of staying in your comfort zone to clean up your stuff, expand your comfort zone, and then put choice back in your life.
So good.
And
that's I love it. And I think I am all about that inner work. So I'm very aligned with all that you're saying here. So love it. So tell us where people can follow you, know more about your coaching institute.
That would be great. Thank you so much. So I would love to give you, can I give them a free quiz? Yeah. So because we talked about all of this, there's a quiz it's for coaches and consultants and authors. It's about your business. So even if you're a business owner, you can still take it, and we'll have it in the show notes. But it's geniusunlocked.coach/quiz. And what it does is it takes you through one of the 4 blocks that's blocking you from taking the next level of your business. Okay. And then we give you solutions and what things to look for and how to do it. Like some of it's like fear of failure, or, not deserving, or think that you don't have enough education, or all of those different things. So I'd love to offer that to everyone here, just so you can get an idea based on these questions, what's going on in your unconscious mind. So that's one way. Geniusunlocked.coach is our website that talks about our different ways and our different modalities that we support people. And then, of course, we are on the socials. I know I say that. I'm like, oh, we're not very social. We are on all the socials. We're not silly. Instagram and Facebook and all of those fun locations. But I would love to connect with anyone that'd like to dive deeper. But more importantly, let's find out what's going on inside of you. So take that quiz and look at your results and see if that brings some unconscious conscious. And then please, please, please listen to your intuition and find all the work that you can, because all of the answers are inside of you. You are built for abundance. Everything that you want in your life is achievable, and your intuition has the answers. So
excellent.
Thank you so much for having me.
Well, we have one final question we always close with. And
yes.
What are 3 pearls of wisdom you'd like to leave with our audience
today? Okay, 3 pearls of wisdom. I may reiterate some of the things that I talked about today. The first pearl of wisdom is you have all of the answers inside of you, even when you think you don't. Even when you think, oh, but Jen, but you don't understand Jen. Oh, but Jen, I get it. Trust me, I've heard it all. I've been through it all. You actually have all the answers inside of you. Number 2 is your intuition has all of the answers. Your intuition is always kind. Always kind. It will never blame, shame at you at all. Nice. It is always kind, and it may not always be gentle. It may be a big old kick in your butt. It may be like, it's that gut, it's that aha moment where you're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe you just said that. So your intuition is always kind, but it is not always gentle. So pay attention that to your other three voices, your inner critic, inner ego, inner child. They are the ones that are blaming and shaming you. They are the ones that are keeping you where you're at. They're the ones that are holding that fear. So just understand that. And then the last pearl of wisdom that I have for you is you are not an accident. You are here on this earth for a reason. And if you're listening to this podcast, you are part of the solution, and you are the center of your ripple effect to support all of us in raising the vibration of the world. And no matter where you are in your journey, you are exactly where you're supposed to be to have heard this, so you can go develop more, so you can reach your hand down and help the next level. And you are your ripple effect, and you are valued.
So good. So good. Well, Jenn, this has been a pleasure hearing all of your good wisdom. Thank you for joining us today. And
my pleasure.